Hey friends, it's Jen for Altenew. Today I thought I would show you 3 fun ways to use the Grateful Heart stamp set and the coordinating products, and show you 3 different ways that you can color these flowers. So this set is awesome because it comes with the outline of the stamp, so you can do a lot with that. You can color this in with any medium that you want, just using just the outline, but it also comes with the layering stamps so that you can get a layered flower look. And you also have the dies available, which is nice to be able to cut them out. And then you also have the masks, which are awesome if you like to stamp clusters of flowers and do some overlapping, but I'm also going to show you how you can use the masks for a coloring technique as well. So I'm going to show you 3 different techniques, and then I'll come back to show you how I used them on projects. All right, so the first way that I want to show you is the most common way, which is to use the layering stamps. And I've chosen some colors that will match my photos. We'll see how these look together because I'm kind of mixing red and pink, but I think it might be okay. So it's Crimson, Pink Diamond, and Puffy Heart. And I'm just going to stamp these out. And it's a very simple process, which I'll talk you through.
It's not absolutely necessary to use a stamp platform, but I find it's very, very helpful when using these kinds of stamps, especially if you want to stamp multiples. So I did want to have multiples of the same stamp, so I am just rotating my cardstock. I'm using an 8.5 by 11 sheet of cardstock, and that allows me to get 4 images without having to change out the stamp on my platform. So it just makes mass production a lot easier. Of course, you could just use a stamp block. And after I get these 4 images stamped out, I am doing the outline first. I will go in with the different layers, and I'm just cleaning off that stamp, gonna move it back to the stamp sheet, and now I'm going to use my first layer. And you can see I have the back of the packaging. It's like a little instruction booklet, an idea booklet that comes with the stamp set, and it kind of gives you a little guide of what order to stamp in. So I have that just sitting off to the side there, and I am double stamping this one because I didn't get a great image the first time, and this is another great reason to use a stamp platform. So I stamped that first layer in all 4 corners, and now I have grabbed the second layer. I'm lining it up and going to go in with my next ink color. So I think the first one I did was the Pink Diamond, and now I have the second darkest color, which is escaping my mind at the moment, but I did mention them at the beginning. And now I'm going to go in with the Crimson, which is the red color. And I didn't know how this would look, but I really actually love the way that it turned out. So this is the final layer for kind of the pink colors. And on this particular stamp set, there is a layering stamp for the center of the flower as well. So after I stamp that 4 times, I will go in with these little stamps for the middle. And I believe I am using caramel toffee and buttercream and honey drizzle for the centers. There are 3 layers, and so I did all of those on all 4, and I wanted to show you that you can while this is still in the stamp platform, there's plenty of space for me to stamp more images. I'm going to do these leaves, and you'll see that even though I'm getting a little bit wider here with how much the stamp is covering that paper, I can still go around to all 4 corners and stamp this so that I can have that same mass production going on. So I won't show you the stamping of the inside of the leaves because I think that you get the idea, but it does use 3 green colors. And again, I'll have all of the products linked in the blog and in the video description, so you can check that out. And there, through the magic of television, they are all cut out. So that is my first way to color. Now we're going to move right into the second way. This time I am going to use the mask, and one thing about this mask is you need to make sure you have it flipped to the right side. But basically what I'm going to do, I'm using a little scrap piece of cardstock. This is left over from the pieces that I just created. And I want to match this photo of my sister and my cousin. And so I'm using Fired Brick, Caramel Toffee, and Sunkissed, and then I end up adding in Honey Drizzle as well. But I'm just going to ink up my stamp, and I'm using Permanent Black from Altenew and stamping that down. I am going to heat set it just because I don't want it to smudge and smear, because I'm going to do some ink blending. So I'm going to put the mask over the top, and I'm going to use some washi tape to create kind of like a little hinge and to hold everything down so I can look and see what's going on. And I have different blending brushes for my different colors, and so I'm going to, on this particular flower, I start with the yellow, but in the end, on the second flower, I kind of have a better idea of how I actually want to do this. So the first flower was kind of like an experiment, but it still worked really well. So I'm kind of going all over with the Sunkissed, and then I'm going to come in with the Caramel Toffee. What I found was I liked to work from light to dark. So I'll go with the lightest color, and then I'll go in with the next color, and then I'll go into the center with the darkest color, which is that Fired Brick, that orangey color. And I thought it would be nice to have some yellow, so I did decide to bring in the Honey Drizzle on the edges of those petals. And the thing that's great about this is that you can go back in with the previous colors, and you can just keep blending until you're happy with it. I think it is really important to note that you do want to heat set that black ink, because it stays wet a little bit longer, and so if you don't heat set it, or if you don't let it dry for a little bit, it is going to smudge and smear. So here I have the mask over the flower, and I'm just going to stamp another flower so it looks like it's layered behind it, and I will ink this one up too. So I will layer the stencil over the flower on the left and the mask on the flower on the right, and that way I can ink blend this and it looks like a completely separate flower from the first one, because I'm not going over the top of it at all. So I started with the Honey Drizzle, going in with a little bit of Sunkissed now, which I completely cover up with the Caramel Toffee, so there's that. And then I'll go in again with the Fired Brick in the center. And then you can go back in, this is what I do. I'll go back in with that lightest, brightest color and just add in a little bit more. And I did want to add in a bit more color right where the flowers meet, so it looks like there's a shadow. Look how clean that edge is. I just love the way those masks and stencils work together. So I decide here to go ahead and put some leaves on. And so I'm going to use my masks again and just stamp some leaves. And the leaves are kind of, I'm just making them big enough that they will fit on this random weird scrap of paper that I'm using. And so some of them are going to be really small, and that's totally fine. I think it ends up looking great. So now I'm doing the ones on the left. So I've got that bigger leaf and then the small one, and this one's just only going to show a little tiny peek of that leaf. And that works out well. And just to mention, I am cleaning off that mask each time I stamp on top of it, because I don't want the ink to transfer. So I'm just using a baby wipe and cleaning that off really quickly. So I'll place the mask back on the flower. Before I need to heat set it because I don't want it to smudge. So I take the mask off because I don't want to warp the mask or anything like that. And then I'll put the mask back on. I'm grabbing my blending brushes, and I am going to actually use a combination of sea glass, sweet leaf, and evergreen for these leaves, which is kind of a different combination, but I wanted to have a little bit of the blue undertone because there's blue in the photos, and it really doesn't make that big of a difference, but I felt like it worked well. So I'm going in with that sea glass first, and then I'm going to add a bit of the sweet leaf. And then I will go into kind of the nooks and crannies and corners with the evergreen, and making kind of shadows there with where it meets with the flower. And I went in a little bit more with that sea glass again. And I'm really happy with the way that looks. And again, I'm just so impressed with how clean the edges are. So I am going to do the ones on the left now, and I have the mask over the flower and putting the stencil over the top of the leaves and going in with my sea glass color, and then again with the sweet leaf, and then finally the evergreen. And because I am overlapping these and doing masking and that kind of thing. Obviously the dies will not be able to cut this out because the die won't fit around this large floral cluster that I've made. So I'm going to end up fussy cutting this out, but it looks great and it wasn't too tricky or anything. So it works great. And you could also obviously do this on straight on your background so you wouldn't have to cut anything out, but it ended up working better for me to be able to cut it out. So there it is finished, and here it is with my photos. It matches great. I love being able to color things in to match my photos, and I just wanted to make mention that I added some washi tape to the masks and put them inside my stencil so nothing gets lost. All right, let's move on to the final way that we're going to color here. I have a Thanksgiving photo and then some Thanksgiving like little forms that we filled out. And I wanted to kind of create a pocket out of my photo, put these little thankful for things that we filled out, and then put a cluster of flowers below the photo. So that is my plan. I'm using some watercolor paper, and I'm just going to stamp these again using that permanent black ink because it will resist the water, like it won't react with the water. And I'm just going to stamp out a whole bunch of different images. I'm going to stamp one of each here just to show you, and then off camera I will paint more of each one of these. But for the demonstration purposes, I'm just going to stamp one of each. So the large flower, the two leaves, and then the little kind of floral cluster. I'm heat setting it, and then I'm going to use my Altenew watercolors, which you can see are very well loved. I'm going to use those to create very autumnal colors to color these flowers in. And I wanted to do the leaves kind of brownish, like brownish orangey. I wanted them to look, again, very autumnal. And so I will just color those in with some brownish colors, and I will color some of the other leaves that I do. I'll color them in with kind of an olive green color, so I have a little bit of variety in each one. On the larger floral, I am going to use a variety of colors. I colored this one that I'm going to show you, I colored it in oranges and kind of like dark reds and stuff. The other large floral that I colored off camera is mostly mustard. And you'll see the difference between them. This one, I kind of just went crazy with the color and wasn't really paying too much attention to what I was really doing. And the yellow one is just kind of more of a clean look. And you'll see the difference in the close-up photos or when I show you the layouts at the end of the video. But I like the way both of them turned out. They're just totally different. So here I'm just kind of like choosing a color, putting it in, adding some darks and lights. Here I just added that kind of dark red color and then some orange on the outside of the leaves while it was still wet. And I'm doing the same thing on this leaf here. So putting in a lot of color at the center, dragging it out with a little bit of clean water, and then adding in some color around the edges. This last leaf I'm doing the same way. I kind of, after I did the first few leaves, I was like, I probably should be a little bit more consistent, but it is what it is, and I think it looks cool anyway. So I'm going to wait for that to dry before I do, oh no I'm not, I'm going to do the center now. Sometimes I'll wait for it to dry so that it doesn't bleed, but I just used a little bit of yellow and a little bit of brown. And then for these smaller florals, I am going to use kind of orange, so I'm putting a deeper concentration towards the center of the flower, pulling it out with some water, and then I'm going to put some yellow on the edges of these ones. And for the centers, I'm using that deep red. So same thing on the second flower, that kind of deep orange, pulling it out, and then adding a little bit of yellow on the edges and some red to the center. And then there are also some buds on this little floral cluster, and I'm leaving those mostly darker, more with the red. And then for the leaves, I'm going to kind of create a mustardy, not mustard, an olive green color. So I just mixed some green and some brown. and going to add that, and then I add a little bit of orange to the tips, and I really like the way that color looks when I use it. So have fun, just play around. Because this is a stamp, you can stamp it out as many times as you want and keep playing with it and coloring it in until you're happy with how you colored it in. And it's fun. It's like a relaxing process, at least for me. So after I did these 4, I did a whole bunch more and colored them in, and then I die cut them out. So here you can see them all, kind of a variety of colors. Some of the leaves are more green, some of them are more brown. And I think they'll look nice with my photo and the way that I want to create this layout. So we have our watercolored flowers. Here, I'll push them to the side. And then we have our ink blended flowers. And then we have our stamp layered flowers. And they all are different, totally different looks. And I love all of them. So there's 3 different ways to color them. And I'm going to come back and show you my finished projects now.
Okay, so I thought it would be nice to show you how these layouts came together. And I wanted to also point out how different the styles are, because you can really get a lot of mileage out of this one stamp set just by coloring it differently, just by using different colors. It can really do a bunch of different things. So this first one is the one where I just stamped the colors in using the layering stamp set. And then I added some bits and pieces from the 6x6 paper stack. I'm trying to remember what it's called here. Summer Garden paper pack. So that's where these little pieces that I fussy cut came from. And then I used a paper from the Live Your Dream collection for my background. And then the word sweet I die cut using the bold alpha dies. And I used the Alluring Blooms paper pack for that. You can kind of see I used this paper right here. Just to kind of match that reddish pink color, and I think it turned out really well. So just super simple, and adding the flowers in with some other flowers and leaves I think gives it a nice look. So there's the first one. The second one, I did this layout of my sister and my cousin with their babies, like I mentioned, and I just used that piece that I inked with the blending brushes, and I used that kind of in between these 2 photos. This photo was horizontal 3x4 and this one is a vertical 3x4, so there's a space right here, and that's a great way to fill it, is to put like a little floral swag or cluster there. And then I ended up using the stamp set on the title as well. Let me show you a little bit closer up. I stamped with the Altenew Embossing Ink. I stamped on the black letters that I die cut out, and then I just used some Ranger Perfect Pearls powder. You just put it on with a brush and it sticks wherever the embossing powder is. And so I just used that small floral image from the Grateful Heart stamp set, this one here, to give that a pattern. So that's another way that you can use that that stamp set. Look how cool it looks in the light. It's just got this pearlized finish. And then you might recognize this paper from that I created, I think it was my last blog post that I did for Altenew, using the dot art stamp set, and I had it left over, so I just used it for my background here, and then added some of these acetate butterflies and a few little stickers from the Live Your Dream collection as well. Alright, last but not least, we have the florals that I watercolored. So see how different these all are from each other, how different the florals look. I think it's really cool that you can get such different looks with one stamp set. But these ones I colored very autumnal, and I think it's perfect for this stamp set that's called Grateful Heart, and I used that stamp here as well. This is Thanksgiving, and so these are some little things that we filled out for Thanksgiving. I made my photo into a pocket just by putting foam tape around the edges but not the top, and tucking in these little things that we filled out that my sister-in-law had brought to our little family dinner with my husband's side of the family, and just used some of the letter stickers from the Live Your Dream collection and some journaling, put my little flowers all around the bottom of the photo, and added some gold mist and a few enamel hearts as well. Just kept this one, again, very simple, but wanted to show you just the variety of looks that you can get with this Grateful Heart stamp set. So here are the layouts once more with the watercolor, using ink and a blending brush and the masks so that you can stay within the lines, which I absolutely am obsessed with. I gotta do that again. And then just the regular way that it's intended, filling it in with those layering stamps. So I hope that you enjoyed and that you will come back again very, very soon. Thanks for joining me.
Here are some close-up photos of those flowers. Be sure to head over to the Altenew Scrapbook blog to find even more photos and more information. And I hope that you'll check out this stamp set. It is wonderful and versatile, and I love it, and I will be using it lots more. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see you again very, very soon.